On June 18, 2018, at 7:56 p.m., the Boulder Police Department received a dramatic 911 call from an 11-year-old boy named Michael Jones. He reported discovering his mother's lifeless body on the laundry room floor, accompanied by the chilling sound of a man screaming in the background.
Please help me! He's not breathing! Please help me!
The police promptly dispatched Deputy Mike Perry to the scene. The footage you're viewing was captured on Perry's body cam as he arrived at the Ponderosa Mobile Home Park at 4475 North Broadway. The individual kneeling on the ground is 47-year-old Scott Jones, while just out of view lies his wife, Deborah DePinto. The couple had been married for over a decade, raising their two children, an 11-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. Tragically, their son is also present in the room with them.
Please help me.
Did you find her here?
I don't know.
You've got to tell my wife. You've got to tell my wife.
They got
My whole life, dude. Please help her. Please. Oh my God.
Take a deep breath, okay? The best people that can possibly be working on her, okay? We got paramedics on her, all right?
Oh my God.
Let's see what's going on.
Deputy Perry promptly administered CPR, and within minutes, the EMTs arrived on the scene. During this time, they couldn't help but notice Scott's peculiar behavior. When asked about the incident, Scott explained that Deborah had complained about the laundry room being excessively warm and struggling to breathe before suddenly collapsing. He speculated that Deborah may have suffered a heart attack due to her weight or some other medical condition.
He's like 220 pounds, man. I told her, man. You gotta take care.
He would oscillate between highlighting how much she meant to him, detailing her risky drug use, and her unhealthy weight.
We got her.
Bro, should be holding her hand or something.
I know, but they're taking care of her right now, okay?
I don't know.
Always here, buddy.
Smokes that damn pipe where they heat up again and they stick in that stuff.
Oh, God.
That's my whole life in there, man. That's my whole life. Oh my God, Mama. Oh God.
In situations where a parent has just passed away, it is typical for the surviving parent to provide comfort to their child. However, in this particular case, Scott appeared to be somewhat disengaged or disinterested in his children. Given that his son was still in the room with them, officers asked about the whereabouts of his daughter. His response was, "I do not know."
I don't know.
Deborah DePinto was quickly loaded into the ambulance and rushed to Boulder's emergency center. Shortly after arriving at Boulder Health's Foothills Community Hospital, Deborah succumbed to her injuries. Although at this point there was no clear indication, detectives asked Scott to join them at the police department. Following standard procedure, Detective Don Dillard of the Boulder County Sheriff's Office was tasked with leading the investigation and conducting the interview with Scott. Scott stuck to his account of the events that occurred in the laundry room that evening. According to him, Deb was grasping for air and struggling to breathe before she abruptly collapsed.
I don't know, dude. Like, she went like this. She started going like that and stuff.
He also went on to explain that although he and Deborah were separated, they had been amicably co-parenting their two children. Scott spoke positively of his relationship with Deb, asserting that the two had no issues and worked well together as parents. He would constantly reinforce that he loved his wife and that he had absolutely nothing to do with her death.
I love my wife and she loves me, man. And I have no idea how that went down like that today, dude.
Okay.
When she fell, yeah, she was face down, she fell.
Did something happen in that room that...
No way, man. No way.
I mean, I know accidents happen. If you're arguing, did something happen that went too far? Did she have a heart attack and die?
No, man.
The interrogation went on for several hours, and without receiving any incriminating information, the detectives were still unable to charge Scott. Exhausted and wanting to be with his children, Scott requested permission to go home.
So I'm tired. I want to get my kids home. And I've answered a lot of questions. I've been very cooperative.
Within moments of Scott leaving the interrogation room, a call was received by the sheriff's office that changed the course of the investigation. Deputy Mike Perry, who was the first officer to arrive at the scene, received a phone call from the manager of the Ponderosa Mobile Home Park. The call was regarding a video that the manager had discovered on one of the surveillance cameras. The park manager quickly uploaded the video to a shared Google Drive and sent the link to the detective.
I put up a Google Drive, I downloaded the video. It's an hour long. If you need more, I just got chills up in my spine. I couldn't watch it.
The footage he is referring to was actually obtained from a makeshift hidden camera that the manager had placed inside the laundry shed to catch people stealing. Detectives decided to set up a computer in order to play this recording for Scott. What you're about to see is the surveillance footage captured from inside and outside the laundry room shed during the moments that Deborah died.
So this is the video that we were talking about.
At around 6:50 p.m., an exterior surveillance camera captured the daughter heading to the car while Scott and Deb made their way from the trailer towards the park's shared laundry room. At this point, it appears that the two were already engaged in a serious argument.
I thought there was some common sense with you. Well, I thought he knew that you don't remember being in there. He doesn't know. I didn't. So that's why I told him. What are you doing over there? I'm getting one. Get out of here, this common sense. We're fighting for an hour over nothing. I'm done. We are never going to be together.
You're so cruel. Is that all you got, cruel and mean?
You're in my way.
Here.
Nah, whatever. Get away from me.
Get away from me.
Oh, don't touch me. Stop. You can't force me to love you anymore. Get out of the door. I'm trapped. Get away from me. You make me feel terrible. Get away from the door.
The audio captured sounds like it could be a physical altercation lasting for approximately 90 seconds. The confrontation concludes around 7:00 p.m., at which point the audio goes silent. The specifics of the incident remained murky, yet the audio recording picked up a novel sound, the unmistakable hum of a dryer in the backdrop. Scott's labored breathing was audible, indicating he might have been pacing inside the room. As Scott watched, his reaction unveiled a total obliviousness to the camera's presence in the laundry room. He nervously refuted any participation in the laundry room incident, despite the video evidence clearly depicting something dreadful unfolding at that exact moment.
That doesn't prove anything, and you know that.
It shows us that something happened in that room. What's going on during that time?
The timestamp on the video footage indicated that Scott stayed in the laundry room with his wife's body for about 47 minutes before reappearing on camera.
This entire time you're still there with her. What are you doing? Are you looking at her? Are you trying to figure out what to do next? Help me.
The footage shows a visibly distraught Scott leaving the laundry room, passing the camera, heading towards the front door, and then pacing nervously.
Oh my God.
At this juncture, Scott finally emerges from the room, captured by an exterior camera as he heads towards the camper. The footage then tracks his return to the laundry room, this time accompanied by their 11-year-old son, Michael.
He's gone, man. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Scott's decision to bring his son to the laundry room to see his unconscious mother appeared highly unusual for a parent. From the video evidence, Scott had spent nearly an hour in the laundry room following his altercation with Deb. In similar situations, individuals often deliberately construct a narrative about the incident. Scott bringing his son to the laundry room could be construed as an attempt to bolster the credibility of his story.
Mama, wake up! Mama, please! Oh, God! Oh, my God! Please!
Scott not only exposed Michael to his deceased mother's body, but also convinced Michael to call 911 at 7:56 p.m. Michael proceeded to dial 911 on Scott's phone. When asked by the dispatcher for more details about his mother's condition, Michael described her as purple and cool to the touch, with a bruise on the bridge of her nose. The dispatcher then asked for their address, at which point Michael handed the phone to Scott. Scott's voice can be heard screaming, "Please help me!"
Please help me! He's not breathing! Please help me!
As emergency units rushed to the scene, Deb's 13-year-old daughter, who had been seen walking to Deb's car earlier, remained seated inside the vehicle. According to her statement, she had received a text message asking her whereabouts and stating that Mom's dead, but she didn't respond out of fear. It later emerged that her brother, Michael, had used Scott's phone to send her the message. She mentioned feeling unsure if the text was real, but was scared nonetheless. She also expressed concerns about her own safety, unsure if she would be next. Despite Scott's continued denial of any wrongdoing, further evidence emerged, including footage showing Scott's demeanor towards his wife, shifting in a peculiar manner.
Hey, where do we go from here, man? I need a lawyer, don't I?
During the interrogation, officers entered the room and informed Scott that he was being arrested for the murder of his wife.
Do me a favor, stand up.
As the detective clicks the handcuffs into place, Scott calmly remarks, "There's no rush."
Do you want to keep talking with him? Because if you do, I have to read you.
Well, where do we go? Let's talk our options, discuss our options.
This marks a significant shift in the interrogation dynamics. Instead of denying any involvement, Scott is now willing to cooperate fully with the sheriff's office.
But I didn't think anything through. I didn't think about anything. I just reacted. I don't know what happened. I just reacted. I don't know, man. It's nuts.
As the questioning intensifies, Scott begins to recount the events leading up to the incident in the laundry room. However, he emphasizes that there was no premeditation involved. Scott also asserts that Deb's behavior pushed him to his breaking point, causing him to react impulsively. It's possible that Scott makes this statement in the hopes that the court will consider the crime as one committed with malice, but without premeditation. In such cases, if a defendant is found guilty, the sentence is typically lesser than if premeditation is proven.
What happened?
I don't know. You think I'm not kicking out of myself? You don't think I feel bad?
No, I know you are.
Oh man, it wasn't good enough. I'm taking the kids. You ain't taking my kids. Shit. Threatening me, with me, man. With me. Just couldn't stop being a monster. Couldn't stop being cruel, man. You don't know what she's done to me. You don't know the cruelty she's done, man.
There was a noticeable shift in the way Scott talked about his wife. Initially, he portrayed her as the love of his life, but his tone changed as he started depicting her as a malevolent figure, insinuating that she provoked his momentary lapse in judgment. It also became evident that Scott might have been trying to establish an insanity defense by attributing his actions to mental distress caused by Deborah's cruel treatment, possibly with the intention of absolving himself of responsibility.
I believe it makes a man temporarily insane for a minute, man, when you think about it. You know that? You don't know the troubles. You don't know the pain. You don't know what I've endured. You don't know what that woman put me through. You don't know what she did to my son. You don't know.
This shift in behavior and narrative reflects a common tendency among individuals to rationalize their actions and fabricate a story that others will find credible. Another well-known case that exemplifies this is Chris Watts. Just hours before the incident, Chris had strangled his wife and smothered both of his young daughters before disposing of their bodies at an oil site. Detectives initially were unaware of Chris's motive, which stemmed from his desire to start a new relationship without his family. When Chris failed a lie detector test and felt trapped by the mounting evidence against him, he seized the opportunity to confess after detectives presented an alternate sequence of events.
I didn't do anything.
Was there an accident?
There was no accident. I don't know if there was an accident in the house. I wasn't there for it.
It's a big deal if it's an accident, because we can work with that, Chris.
No.
And I think that's maybe what happened.
I did not cause an accident. I didn't do anything to my wife and kids.
These are your baby girls. And you have not shed one tear over them not being around. We know that something happened to all three of them. But I want to know, did something happen to these baby girls first that you had to take into your own hands and deal with?
You had to clean it up for us, Shanann.
Chris, you gotta tell us. There's something that happened to these baby girls. I feel like you cleaned up for her. I feel like that's the type of guy that you are. Did you do that to all three of them?
I did not do anything to these kids. Not do anything.
What did Shanann do to them? Tell us, Chris. Chicks are crazy.
Can I talk to my dad or something?
Absolutely.
Couldn't.
Do you want to bring him in here?
No, I just need to talk to my dad. Like, I flew across the country.
Hey, Chris,
I can't.
how about this? If we brought your dad in here, would you please tell him what happened?
We'll step out. Okay?
Do you need a few minutes with him? Okay. I heard like a little commotion upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it. Did she tell him? They're blue. Both of them. She took both of them to bed. I forgot the champagne was in the room.
As mentioned earlier, this admission was entirely fabricated. He later confessed that his wife, Shanann, did not harm their children and that he acted impulsively before committing familicide. Returning to the main focus, Scott had just confessed to killing Deborah, but he quickly constructed a narrative portraying Deborah as an extremely abusive spouse, which he claimed drove him to the brink and led to her murder. Following this confession, Scott Jones was formally arrested and charged with Deborah DePinto's murder. Scott did not enter into a plea deal and was remanded into custody without bail. Deborah's autopsy report later confirmed strangulation as the cause of death. Based on the evidence presented, it appeared that Scott's actions were deliberate, as he had options to prevent her death but chose not to intervene. The video footage indicated that he had ample time to seek help or contact 911. After being escorted to his cell, Scott appeared devoid of any remorse for his actions, a stark contrast to his demeanor when they initially arrived at the trailer park.
You've got to tell my wife. You've got to tell my wife.
They got
my whole life, dude. Please help her. Please. Oh my God.
Detectives were concerned that this sudden shift in demeanor could undermine Scott's claim that the act was not premeditated. Following Scott's arrest, District Attorney Adam Kendall initiated the construction of a case against Scott, aiming to establish a strong foundation. Kendall reached out to Deborah DePinto's friends and family to gain insight into her character and her relationship with Scott. Those close to the couple described Scott as controlling and emotionally abusive towards Deb, with behavior that intensified in the final year of their relationship, including threats. Although there were no signs of physical abuse, it's common in instances of domestic violence for verbal aggression to escalate into physical harm over time. Scott's trial began in December 2019. The prosecution argued that the murder was premeditated and filed a motion for Scott to be formally charged with first-degree murder based on thorough examination of evidence. The defense contended that Scott's actions were impulsive and reckless, not premeditated murder. Testimonies from friends and acquaintances were pivotal. Mark Rose recalled a conversation in which Scott hinted at harming Deborah, while Heather Pillow remembered Scott mentioning harming Deborah physically. Ryan Worley overheard Scott talking about having Deborah harmed by friends-owed favors. The forensic pathologist, Dr. Daniel Lingamfelter, testified to the details of Deborah's autopsy, confirming homicidal asphyxiation, possibly with smothering. The graphic nature of the autopsy details caused one juror to faint. On December 20th, 2019, Scott Jones was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 48 years in the Colorado State Penitentiary, with an additional year for child abuse for exposing his son to the crime scene.